All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Area 51 Indy Series. They are here tonight at Kentucky Speedway. Scheduled distance is 125 laps here this evening. Qualifying has just kicked off underway, so these drivers are going to put in their qualifying laps here. Looks like about 19 drivers scheduled to take part in this event. As and always, of course, we know the utmost importance of qualifying at tracks like this. So we'll see what these drivers can get done here tonight. And so while we're looking at that, let's also switch over. Let's take a look at our point standings coming into tonight's event. Right now you see Nick DeGroot with that big win, able to jump his lead now to 32 points over Craig Forsyth, 37 over Scott Rankin. And you can see here, it's a kind of a three-horse race at the moment. You see in fourth position, Jeff Heisong. I mean, it's great to be up in the top four, but you see 115 points out of the lead, so he's going to need a lot of bad luck, I should say, for those top three to get him back into the running. And I say it's pretty close from there back, though. You see Jim Brooks only 16 out. Eric Peterson, unfortunately, not here this evening. In that sixth spot, you got Matt Wagner, Alec Coates, Joseph Morales, and Yari Brupacher are top 10 in points. And again, do need to reiterate, though, there are no playoffs in this Indy Series. It's just going to be the best over the course of those 12 races. So just cross that halfway point as we come into race number 8 here tonight at Kentucky Speedway. So that's going to be a big one here for these drivers this evening. So along with that, so info for tonight's event. Again, we talked about the 125 lap distance, the race info. So we actually pull up our practice results, kind of get some ideas what these drivers are running lap time wise coming into tonight. And you see Jim Hare quickest in practice with Anders Arhus, Matt Wagner. They're tied for seconds. Showing that he's not just a broadcaster, but also pretty quick behind the wheel. Steve Goschak, he actually was able to put in a fourth fastest time there. Obviously won't be able to beat up on these guys tonight though. But then fuel mileage, it sounds like most likely full rich. If you're leading the pack and you're going full throttle all the way around, most likely going to be around 26, maybe 27 laps on fuel, but more likely we'll probably see fuel numbers in the 30s or so for these drivers here tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, with that 125 laps, you know every bit's going to make a difference, so we'll definitely need to see what those guys have in store. And yeah, so it should be a lot of fun here tonight. Again, drivers have one fast repair. There are no green white checkered attempts here with the Indy Series. Again, kind of going with the way the actual IndyCar Series is done. And yeah, so I'll say right now track temperature right now 72 degrees, and it's showing track time just approaching 8 p.m. over there. So I think only going to start cooling off a little bit. And even one thing we might need to look at is that sunset. These drivers might start to get a little bit of sun in their eyes at certain points in the race here. Might give them a little bit of visibility issues from time to time. So right now, got about a minute and a half left. Still got a few drivers opted to wait a little longer. Maybe try and get some more ideal track conditions to be able to put their laps in. So we'll see. As I'm getting some info, as I always appreciate the input on YouTube, on the chat. And yeah, I've mentioned already that sounds like 30 laps should be easily possible. So expect to see that from these guys. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is you got so many tools to play with these Indy cars. Of course, you got the option of the weight jackers and the ARB front and rears to adjust the handling. But then, of course, you've also got the fuel mixtures to play with from 1 all the way to 5 for in-race, 6 and 7 for road courses, and then 8, of course, that caution fuel map. So, yeah, a lot of tools to be played with here tonight. And also, as we get things rolling, definitely, as we mentioned last week, of course, kind of giving some background with one of our drivers, that 36 of Eric Peterson. Let's say he was spending some time with his dad. Let's say his dad was in the hospital, but definitely some positive news. His dad is back home now from the hospital. Eric's actually still over there spending time with him. So yeah, so hopefully everything's going the right direction. Like I said, definitely hoping for a quick and speedy recovery. So definitely a good news to get you back home, get comfortable, and hope you enjoy the race here tonight. I say obviously can't be as biased to say don't get to root for your son, but so I'm sure he'll have plenty more racing over the course of the season for you to cheer him on. So maybe it'll be fun for you guys to watch this one together though. So definitely hope you're doing better and look forward to seeing you on track here, Eric. I should say look for and see you on track, and then yeah, definitely hoping your dad's doing better here soon. And with that, qualifying has just completed. So we're going to go over our starting grid for tonight's event. And it is going to be that number 1 Matt Wagner getting pole position here tonight by about 200s over Nick DeGroot. Then you got Anders Arhus, Alec Coates, Scott Rank in our top 5. AJ Hobson, Jeff Heisong, Mike Gibson, new name, new face to the league, but showing he's going to be one to watch as well in that number 5. Jim Brooks and Yari Brupacher. And then you got Jim Herrick in 11th. Brendan Briggs, another new name, new face in that top 12. As we continue down the running order here, you've got then Charles Teed, Gary Corley, Craig Forsyth, Andrew Wood, and then Joseph Morales, Jack Walls, and Thaddeus McMurray going to be our 19 drivers here taking part in tonight's event. Let's see, field finishing up, gridding up. Just got a few drivers left to hop on track, and then we will get this thing underway. Again, 125 laps our race distance tonight. Again, talked about the fuel mileage, going to be at least in that mid-upper 20s, most likely 30 plus. And so we know some of these drivers are very sneaky when it comes to the fuel mileage here tonight, so that's going to be one thing we're definitely going to be keeping a close eye on tonight. So say hope you all are having a good evening tonight. And definitely hope to have you throughout the course of the evening, as we're just about to get this thing kicked off, as the pace car is just about to start rolling off, as it's going to be Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot leading the front row here. So the other thing they mentioned, Kentucky Speedway reconfigured a few years back, so very, very different than what they're used to being at this 1.5 mile oval. Turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are not at all the same anymore. 1 and 2 definitely full flat to the floor, just going to have to try to keep some clean air in that front wing. And then 3 and 4, you definitely have to be rolling out of the throttle a little bit, trying to find some clean air, because that's going to be, I think, the make or break turn. These drivers are going to, I think, have a little bit of difficulties there, just trying to find the right line, whether it's going the shorter distance around the track or maybe trying to keep that momentum built up on that top side. It's going to be very interesting to see which drivers think is the right call for these guys tonight. So we'll see who's able to make which lane work the best as the field's rolling off onto the backstretch here. Again, getting set here for 125 laps here tonight at Kentucky Speedway. Alright, see the pace car starting to duck off onto pit road. That's going to hand things over to our pole sitter in that number 6, the 8-9 next to him. Again, initial start is on green flag, so there's no jumping here and say they will start double file. Restarts will be single file. As now the green flag is out, Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot lead the field into turn number 1 for the first time. Again, say these guys are going to try to get to speed quickly, and yeah, that's to say I think we're going to see these drivers try to quickly and efficiently try to find their way to the bottom. I think it's that initial start going to be the best to get to the inside line. Shortest distance ready. You see Matt Wagner immediately. He's going to protect that inside line as they head into turn number 3. Saw a little bit of smoke in the back, and it looks like it might be Brandon Briggs involved. Oh, also we got Gary Corley caught up in this one. These cars hooked together here, and it's like just completely stuck together. This may bring out a yellow. So far, we somehow still stay green. But as we watch, I think at some point you're going to see the sleep pack if they don't get towed. Actually, it looks like they both do take a tow. So we will stay under green flag conditions as Matt Wagner continues leading. See the smoke from the aftermath of that. But so far, so good for the rest of the field here, continuing to go green as Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner continue to run side by side here. So we'll jump back real quick, see if we can get a look to see what happened with Brandon and Gary Corley to try to get a view. Actually, you can already see the contact already happening there. So say we'll go back real quick and take one more look at it at speed here, and say just looks like kind of fighting for the same real estate, unfortunately. So yeah, so we'll jump back live here though to keep an eye on the fight up front, because right now it's still Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot. They are definitely fighting tooth and nail here to try to stay that leader of the field here, control the race. Almost a little contact further back there. Craig Forsyth just about got into the back of Jari Brupacher. Craig making some big gains early on here, plus 8 positions so far for that number 27 car. So we'll keep an eye on him and say that I don't believe any front wing damage. Car looks like it's okay, but definitely a very, very close call there as Matt and Nick here continue to duke it out up front. Right behind them, you've got Scott Rankin, Anders R, who's having a nice little fight as well for that 3rd position here. Right now, Scott again has that inside line, but that outside line gives some pretty nice momentum out of turn 2. And so you steal a little bit of drafts you saw Nick do, and then able to cut back down. As man, these guys are on top of each other here through 3 and 4. And again, so we talked about 1 and 2. You stay pretty much foot to the floor. 3 and 4, you're going to need to find some clean air and some clean running. And these guys are definitely doing everything they can to keep that running order and trying to keep that clean air on the front wings of these cars. And also just trying anywhere and everywhere they can to get some track position. Right now, Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot definitely having a nice little battle here for that lead of this race. Oh, we saw just for a second there Scott Rankin touched the apron. That's always a scary thing to have there. As you see, it's that 3rd car on that inside line there. And actually, I think that apron cost him some momentum there. As he's got, oh, I'm sorry, actually, it wasn't Scott Rankin. Who was that down low there? I think that was actually the 10 of Anders Arhus, I apologize. And you can see that's cost him a lot of momentum. You see it's dropped him now to about the 6th, 7th position, was fighting for that top 3 spot. So great recovery to hold on to that car, but that's the risk of touching these aprons. These cars do not respond well with the difference in banking. And so yeah, so he's able to hang on to it though and stay in contention, in the running for this race. As we'll jump back up front, because once again, Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot continue to stay side by side as we're already approaching the start lap number 10 here. And for that initial lap 1 contact, do need to mention Gary Corley is back out on track. Unfortunately, Brandon Briggs still sitting on pit road. So not the season debut Brandon was looking for. We mentioned the other driver debuting tonight, Mike Gibson, sitting currently in the 15th position. I think, again, just trying to get his feet wet. I feel like just get comfortable with the car and the drivers around you. So he's dropped a few spots from his starting position, but wouldn't be surprised to see him claw his way up over the course of the race. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on him, as even some of our other names that we talk about a lot here. Andrew Wood making a rare appearance here in that number 64 machine. He's also plus 7 positions in that 64 up into the top 10 in 9th. And then Craig Forsyth still continuing his charge in that 27 car. Right now sitting just inside the top 5 there, working on trying to get around, I believe that is Jari Brupacher. Right now, like I said, plus 10, so from 15th to 5th thus far. Some pretty big moves for Craig Forsyth here. And do you mention Brandon Briggs is now back out on track, so that's good news for him to get some more laps and just get comfortable with the car and kind of just feel everything out again. But right now, it's hard to jump around here because I say these guys are just all on top of each other. You got Jim Brooks, Jeff Heisong here just outside the top 10. They're going tooth and nail right now for that top 10 position. And then you got Jim Herrick, Charles T starting to get back after one another as well. Charles able to get back out on track here again. Has, I believe, some hardware upgrades to that number 50 car. Got some new computer parts, so hopefully he's probably also same thing, doing a lot of learning and kind of getting refamiliarized with some of the finer intricacies, if you will. Say when you kind of make big upgrades, everything looks visually different. So I'll say that takes a little bit of growing time to get familiar with those things in that number 50, I'm sure. Up front, things settling in just a little bit. I won't say a lot, but settling in just a little bit. You see Nick there going up, getting that clean air, and then dropping right back down into that toe. And then you see AJ Hobson trying to work over that number 156 of Scott Rankin. So let's hop on board here with Craig Forsyth. He's got a really good view of these battles up in front of him. I'm sure he's ready to join the mix, and he's in these battles as well. But right now in a great spot there. So like I said, gaining all those positions early, and now already tucked up in this lead pack here. That's a telltale right there. You see Craig having to drop all the way down to 4th gear there through 3 and 4. Now going to pick up through the gears here, and I don't think you'll see any downshifting through 1 and 2, as he should be able to easily, again, once he's in that cleaner, just keep it foot to the floor. But we have seen here is Scott Rankin. He's, for just a moment at least, snuck away from AJ Hobson and starting to put some pressure on the lead pack up front now, as they will hop on board with Scott here, as he's starting to try to find a way to get around these 2 in front of him. But this is a tough position to be in, because you've already got 2 drivers, one probably going to run a little high, one going to run a little lower. And you see Scott here having to run the 3rd lane, if he not even maybe closer to the 4th lane, to try to find some clean air to put on that front wing of this car to help it be able to make it through the turns here. And Matt Wagner, look at this, giving up the inside line this time, maybe thinking that the momentum on the middle to outside is the way to go here. But actually it looks like it's going to be Nick DeGroot has just a nose ahead right now. So I'm not sure if that's a strategy call by Matt to give up that spot, as you see Scott tries to peek his nose on under there. So he's going to try to definitely take any advantage he can. As it looks like we might go 3 wide. We're going to go 3 wide entering turn number 3. But there's the momentum shift on the outside line. Look at how much Matt Wagner gains through the outside line of 3 and 4. So that's something that's going to be interesting to note here towards the end of this race here. These drivers, they can't just stay committed to that yellow line. That outside line has a lot of momentum here. And now these guys going 3 wide through 3 and 4 there. You see a big push there by that 4 car of AJ Hobson. He had to roll out of it just a little bit as they continue to go 3 by 3 up front there. As they just kind of changes who's high, who's low. But look at Scott Rankin. He's found his way to the middle as a little bobble there. Matt Wagner has to roll out of it. That could cost him a top 3 now, as he's got the 4 underneath of him. As again, Craig Forsyth is going to try to find some momentum and try to find some room to take that number 27, as he has to roll out of the throttle there as well. But now Nick DeGroot's going to take control of this race here at lap number 22. And again, if we talk about fuel mileage, if these guys are going full aggressive here, we might see pit stops in about the next 5 or so laps. So this could be interesting to see how quick and how early some of these guys have to hit pit road, which you know is always a treacherous thing to do in these Indy cars.
I'm guessing that this has gone green the whole way so far?
Yeah, so far so good. Green through these first 23 laps. Matt Wagner leading a good chunk of that, and say now Nick DeGroot just sneaking ahead, and say Matt fading back a little bit, but not sure if this might be a little bit of strategy, because it seemed like he was kind of open to giving up that bottom line through 3 and 4. But something we mentioned, Steve, though, that's definitely going to be a racy place on the track here, as this isn't like the normal 1.5, 2 mile tracks where they can just hug that yellow line and ride it all the way around. That outside line has a lot of momentum through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it does. And it all depends on how you get into the turn and how you get through the middle, because these cars definitely want to push on entry.
Yeah, and we watched Craig Forsyth at one point actually having a downshift to 4th gear through there. And what's really happened is, I mean, I'm looking at the field here. You've actually got the top 10 pretty much all now with, once on top of each other within about 2 seconds of one another. And then just another half second back to Jeff Heisong. So they'd spread out a little bit, but I think these guys, I think there might be some tire wear to keep an eye on here too, Steve, because Matt and Scott Rankin big loose in 3. He's going to make contact to the outside wall, keeps it straight. Matt Wagner may have some damage as well, but Scott's going to keep the car pointed forward, and looks like that will let us stay green, as he's going to slide around here. Might have to take a tow, but the other car we got to worry about now is that number 6 machine of Matt Wagner. I believe that's who he got into the door of, if these cars had doors. But what this has done is, I mean, look at Nick DeGroot. He was able to be in front of that, and he is just soldiered away here now to over a 2-second lead there.
Actually, it was AJ Hobson that he collided with.
Oh, okay, thank you. I couldn't tell at the time when it happened. I'll try to take a look here, but man, these guys are on top of each other. I really don't want to go away from this battle. As Scott's still working his way to pit road. So again, he was one of our top 3 championship contenders here. So it could be a big opportunity for Nick DeGroot, Craig Forsyth to try to stretch their points lead out on him. But again, the next question is going to be fuel mileage. Steve, we talked about these drivers probably the upper 20s or so on the fuel numbers if they're full rich. The question is going to be these guys in the pack, how much further can they go? As unfortunately, it looks like Scott Rankin has to take a tow to the pit lane there, as Craig Forsyth has a near touch there to the wall off of 2.
Yeah, it's going to hurt Scott very badly in the points, unfortunately. So we're already past the number of laps that Matt had predicted that these guys would be able to go if they were leading. He was thinking around 26, 27 laps. We're already at 29, coming to 30.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if just they're able to get, again, that mileage just as the tires wear, the cars slow down a little bit. Probably having to drop the pace just that little bit here. So that's going to be the next question, is going to be the overall pace of these cars. And so far, so good, though. I mean, AJ Hobson, he's still running in the 70s, as is Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot. So they're pretty much right on top of each other lap time-wise. Still looking, unfortunately, I don't see Scott Rankin back out on track yet, so not sure if he may have retired or not from that incident. It looks like he may have, unfortunately. So like I said, that's going to be a big hit for him. Possibly could be one of those, we talked about the one drop week these guys have over the course. I believe it's the one over the course of the 12 races. This may be his drop week, unfortunately, this evening.
Yeah, it's looking that way.
And again, the way it works is just, it basically kind of acts as if your worst race doesn't happen to, because again, so you got drivers, I mean, you got real life. I mean, for instance, last week, of course, Eric Peterson going and spending time with his dad. Same thing for tonight as well, still over there with him. So it gives you a little bit of kind of a break if something happens and puts you in a bad spot. So the one thing, though, that I didn't really think about here, though, Steve, is for Nick DeGroot. He jumps out to that 2-second lead one with all that chaos that happened right behind him. This would be an opportunity. He could actually drop his fuel numbers, maybe move that fuel map down to a map 3 or map 5 and just kind of regain some of that, kind of give up some of that track position that he's got right now in order to stretch his fuel another couple laps right now in that number 89 machine, as we're at that lap number 33 now. So these guys definitely stretching his fuel number.
He's pitting. He just keyed up. Matt Wagner just keyed up as well.
As you can see, the little bobble there by Nick has to kind of take a second stab at it. Gets in, but Matt definitely gains time here on the pit road entry. So great job by that number 6 machine. That's going to cycle the lead over now to AJ Hobson. Like you said, Steve, he had a little bit of contact with that little miscue there from Scott Rankin. But like you said, it looks like all is well with that car. So now this is the next question, is how much further can some of these guys go? It'll really tell you. You can see, you can already see AJ's planning on hitting pit road as he drops in. Looks like a knife safe entry for that number 4. Also bringing in Anders Arhus, Alec Coates, Status McMurray, Charles Teed. So pit window definitely open here for these leaders, as it's going to be Jari Brupacher, Craig Forsyth. You see Jari just touched the apron there at 1 and 2. Somehow saves that car. That allows Craig to get on by. But I think the bigger story there is that Jari still has a car left, because that is a very rare thing. You see someone touch the apron there and hang onto that race car.
And he just keyed up, so I'm going to guess he's probably pitting. Probably to not only get tires, but maybe change his pants.
Yeah, so that's going to be 4 tires, fuel, and a change of underwear there for Jari Brupacher. So that leaves 4 drivers yet to pit here. Craig Forsyth, Jari Brupacher, Andrew Wood, and Jeff Heisong. Like I said, it looks like Yari's going to be keying up. He's going to hit pit road. Craig's going to continue to stay out. So Craig making big gains while saving fuel. And looking at bringing into the mix here now Andrew Wood as well. Both these drivers here, Steve, sitting at 14 positions gained from where they started. So they've both worked their way from the back to the front here. And I say this is the time where drivers start to sweat a little bit, because if there's a yellow, I mean, look at the ticker on the left there. You've got right now only 4 drivers sitting currently on that lead lap, as now Craig hits pit road to bring Andrew Wood to the point. And saying that's this, and now you see now 3 drivers left on pit road, 2 drivers left on lead lap. So this is where things get very touch and go. You just hope that everybody has a clean pit stop. And unfortunately, looking in the pit lane times here, looks like one driver unfortunately did not get the pit stop they're looking for. That's the 51 of Jim Brooks, as he's still sitting on pit road now, just completing his service, including a 40-second stop and hold. As now you see the number 64, he hits pit lane for his stop, as that will complete our cycle. So just about mistake free. Unfortunately, the 51, though, he takes a pretty good brunt from that. And when the pit stop cycles through here, it looks like it's going to be Nick DeGroot going to cycle back as our race leader here, Steve.
Kind of interested to see what this does with Craig Forsyth and Andrew Wood for staying out as long as they did. Of course, they both will get a point for leading a lap.
Yeah, the question mark will be if we want to start trying to do some math, which is always a dangerous occurrence for me to do, Steve. Let's say, so basically with Nick and Matt pitting at 33, Craig and Andrew at 37 and 38. Let's say you see Andrew Wood, he's starting to try to build up speed here. And that being said, though, I mean, not a huge loss overall for Craig here, because he's going to cycle out still in third position. As I say, that Jari Brewpark is going to put some challenge on him for that third spot. And he's only about 1.3 seconds off of Matt Wagner here. So, I mean, overall, I'd say kind of a mission accomplished, really, for that number 27 car, as he's going to lead this crew behind him. As I say, they're starting to kind of bundle back up together, as he's got Jari right on his rear wing, as you see Jari starting to make a move. And you got AJ Hobson with Andrew Wood right there behind them. Then Alec Coates isn't too far behind as well. So it's kind of split up into two packs here, roughly, with the top 7. And then you got to go back about 4 seconds to Jim Herrick, who's leading another gaggle here with Anders Arhus, Status Macaroon is right there. And then you got Jeff Heisong, Joseph Morales, Charles Teed. So kind of 2 packs of 7 what we got right here.
And we got a little game of leapfrog going on between Craig Forsyth and Jari Brewparker.
And I was going to say this, I'm not sure if a leapfrog is an approach that works with these cars here at a Kentucky. Definitely at a Pocono, at an Indianapolis, maybe even some of the bigger tracks like Michigan, such. But I'm not sure if it works as well here at Kentucky. So we'll have to keep an eye on the lap times, because that is a good question. As last time by, though, is Andrew Wood, who had the fastest lap of 24:40 to a 24:67. So I think that's just the benefit of a lot of draft behind those 2 cars in front of him. As this time things even out a little bit there. Now it's a 24:66 for Nick DeGroot, 24:50s and 47s for these guys behind. So they are closing a little bit, but Nick still got about a second and a half to play with over Matt Wagner at the moment.
And I'm kind of curious if Nick has changed his fuel map, or if he's just running a little bit slower right now. This is kind of what happened in last week's race. He pulled out to a big lead and then just focused on saving fuel for the rest of the race.
Yeah, exactly right. Because he knows at this point, kind of on the fuel number side, advantage goes to those guys behind him. Jari at 36, Craig at 37, Andrew at 38, he and Matt on 33. And actually, I said we can actually pull up what the pit stop lap was for those guys. As I say, you see the info right there with 33 is up the top 2. Then you got 36, 37, 38, and then 34 for Coates, Hobson, and McMurray. So a lot of mixed strategy on the pit window here. I say, but not by much. I mean, Steve, it's really what, a 5-lap window from earliest to latest. But as we've seen before, I mean, 5 laps sometimes could be a pretty big differential. As now Alec Coates puts in a 24:40 for his fastest lap, actually the fastest lap of the race. But you aren't wrong though here, Steve. Matt is starting to catch Nick DeGroot, and yeah, you wonder maybe Nick turning down the wick a little bit. Maybe just trying to see if he can get into that draft of that 89, and then he can start doing his fuel savings with the draft of that 89 car.
And Matt's been catching him about 1/10 to 2/10 a lap.
Yeah, once again there. And this also could just be the difference of draft versus no draft, with Nick DeGroot right now has nobody to break the air in front of him. Whereas Matt is within the bench. Again, these cars, usually it's about a second and a half is where you really start to get the draft benefit. And you can see, the difference. We talked about Craig Forsyth drop into 4th gear through 3 and 4 there earlier in traffic. Matt Wagner barely had to drop it down into 5th gear there. And again, still continuing this time around 0.2 of a second quicker than Nick DeGroot.
Have you looked to see if Nick is shifting?
Let's hop on board. Let's take a look. He's sitting in 6th gear as he enters the turn. And it looks like he is staying in 6th. So he's definitely keeping the revs down as Matt's once again through 5th gear. So yeah, so I think Nick kind of going with long gears here, Steve, just to maybe try to save some fuel like you talked about. Because there's really no point for him to try to go full speed there, because he knew at that point Matt was already within his draft. So there's no sense to really push too hard too early. And like I said, there's probably a fuel number these guys are probably having to make. So I think that's another big part. Is Scott Rankin looks like he has now left pit road, so he's back out on track. Unfortunately, though, a pretty hefty 23 laps down.
Well, let's see if I can get my calculator going again. $125 lapped in a race.
I feel like everybody should be good, Steve, on a 3-stop strategy. As I'm doing the rough numbers as well. Actually, I'm showing. Yeah, Thaddeus McMurray actually looks like he's had a big moment. He's down into the pit wall here. I'm not sure what happened to Thaddeus. We'll take a look. Looks like while he was battling with Jim Herrick, possibly. Let's go back and let's pick up Thaddeus here in that 37 car. So we're going back to take a look at this replay here. You see Thaddeus on the outside line there. You saw he got around Jim Herrick. And then what happens out of 4? That car just snaps on him, Steve. Just gets a little loose. Oh, and then he catches the transition there from the grass to the banking. And a big shot to the inside pit wall. Unfortunately, I'd say that's going to force him to take a tow as well. As that's going to put now one less driver on track as Scott Rankin hits pit road once again. I think just trying to feel out that car probably. But what this has done, though, these two, though, Matt Wagner, Nick DeGroot, with Matt catching Nick, this has maybe put this into a 2-horse race here, though, Steve, because now they've got about 1.4, 1.5 seconds or so roughly on Andrew Wood behind them. Of course, as I say that, Andrew's putting on some pretty big lap times there. I think he is trying to close that gap down as well. As was running actually right on par of 72 to 73 and 77 in front of him. So right now it looks like now it's up to a, or I should say down to a 5-car race here up in this lead pack.
Okay, so assuming I got my calculator out. So assuming that this thing stays green, it is a 3 pit stop race for pretty much everyone. If you do 3 pit stops, you can go 31 laps per segment. Is and some of these guys have done. I've seen 34,
I think 33.
35.
Yeah, I mean our leaders are at 33, so you feel like they should be good. But actually, the question though, Steve, there is maybe that's with them saving a little bit. So, for instance, if we see them go from 33 to 66, okay, we know they could replicate that 33 laps per tank. But that may have been with them saving a little bit, even though they were battling up front with one another. They may have had to do a little bit of saving to get to that 33 points. So if they're going full send, like we talked about, maybe going full map 1 all the way through, Matt had mentioned probably about 26, 27 laps full rich all the way. So I think it's what we talked about, Steve. I think these guys probably dropping it down to a run of fuel number to make sure they get to the end. But what's going to help right now, though, is that 89 car here. He's going to pick up a little bit of draft here from Brandon Briggs. Say it looks like Brandon's going to actually hit pit road there. Doesn't want to be any part of this lead pack in front of him, which I say that's always a tough thing to do when you're your first race. You don't want to be in the thick of things. But man, this field, they're starting to close right back up, though. I mean, Andrew Wood, he has already caught the rear wing of Matt Wagner now within 0.3 of a second, and then not too far back include Craig Forsyth, the Ari Brewpacker. So we got pretty much the top 5 once again within about 2.5 seconds of one another. So I'll say it's still game on up front here.
So here's the other calculation that I made. The pit window for a 3-stop race or a 2-stop race is 41 laps. Andrew Wood, I'm showing went 39. You probably have 38 on yours.
Yeah, I'm showing 38. Yeah. I think because he came in at 38, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he basically pitted at 39 though.
So, I mean, he could potentially do it.
Yeah, if he could save a few more laps, or the other thing, of course, we talked about Steve too. I mean, the less fuel you can take these first couple stops, he might still need a 3rd stop. That 3rd stop might just be a splash of fuel compared to maybe having to do a couple of gallons for Nick and Matt here. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is all pending things staying green like they are at the moment. I say right now we've got the top 3 now within about a second of one another here. Let's say Craig Forsyth about another couple tenths, about 9/10 back of Andrew. And then about a half a second to Yari Brewpacker there in that top 5. So still a lot of potentials here in this race with this top 5. A little further back though, it's really spread out here, Steve. You've got Alec Coates here sitting in 6th spot. He's got about 3.5 seconds ahead of him, 6 seconds behind him. And then second pack starting to spread out a little bit. You still got Anders and Jeff Heisong. They're pretty much locked onto one another here. They got about a second back to Joseph Morales. And then again, it's kind of separated by about seconds here and there. You got AJ Hobson there, another second back, about 8, 9 tenths to Charles Teed. And then Jim Herrick and Jack Walls fighting pretty hard here for that 12th and 13th positions. And then we mentioned Jim Brooks, that pit penalty. That's dropped him 1 lap down, unfortunately, in that 51. So right now he just needs to fight to make sure he stays that first car 1 lap down, as right now he's got about a 5-second margin or so between where he is and where those guys around him for the Lucky Dog spot will become. So you switch back there, and here comes Nick DeGroot out of turn number 4. So again, maybe about a half straightaway at best.
So AJ Hobson, who was right up here with the leaders early on, unfortunately has fallen back quite a bit. He's 14.9 seconds back. I don't know if he had a problem on his pit stop or if the damage that he got in that early wreck was it just started to cost him or something. But it seemed like he was able to keep up before.
He was doing a lot better before. You're right.
The other thing I thought I'd mention is Charles Teed, who was teasing me about my fast lap in practice, who unfortunately, I mean, he's usually pretty fast. It seemed to me like he was fast when I was following him. Unfortunately, he's back in 10th place and 15.9 seconds back. And I'm thinking he probably should have hired me to drive his car tonight.
Yeah, I was joking too. It's like, as I said, actually, caution is out. Trying to see where it is on track. Oh, it's the 10 of Anders Arhus that's going to bring out the yellow, and that's going to completely change the complexion. You see everybody trying to find a way to get around that 10 car. He's trying to see if he can limp that thing back to the pits, but I think he's going to have to take a tow, as he does, unfortunately. So let's see what exactly happened to Anders here, because it looked like he was around Jeff Heisong at the time. I'm not sure if there's any contact between them or not. I say Anders pretty low here through 3 and 4, and I'm wondering, say, a lot of times we'll see these drivers have a much higher arc. I'm wondering if this might be a scheduled pit stop. By seeing it right there, you see those left side tires, they duck just below the yellow line there, and I think that's all. You see the instant spin there, and that's why I was so impressed with earlier with the driver able to save their car from contact. But then unfortunately, when you hit that apron and say that there's nowhere up that car is going to go. So unfortunately, that puts us under caution here. And the question is going to be the beneficiary of this caution. We mentioned Jim was still on the edge of being that lucky dog position. I believe he's going to still be in that position, as I saw Jim Herrick just catch back up to the field here. As you see here come all the field hitting pit road. I'll say it's going to be a no strategy there, Steve. But what this does do here, we're going to be pitting at 59 to go. To me, I think this is a no-brainer at this point. Actually, 58 to go when we cross the line. I think at this point, these guys can pretty much gloves off and go full rich. One more pit stop to the end.
Yep, absolutely. And nobody's going to be able to make it on no pit stops. So it's going to be crazy again for a little while.
Yeah, as you see Jim Brooks, he does get that wave around. A good fight out of pit road, and it looks like it's going to stay with Nick DeGroot. However, it was a great fight between Craig and Andrew. Looks like Craig's going to win that battle. Unfortunately, Matt Wagner, not the pit stop he was looking for. That's actually going to cost him a couple spots. And yeah, looking at pit lane time and pit time and everything like that. And Craig Forsyth, 39.78 seconds in pit lane there, Steve, compared to 40.5 for Nick. And 40.5, 40.6 for Andrew. So definitely a great pit stop for that number 27 car to get him up all the way into second. And I think we can even pull up the pit lane times here for those drivers. And yeah, you can see the numbers right there. Actually, I think there it is. Craig Forsyth. Well, actually, no, this is showing different for me on this one. Well, I guess it's not a perfect system here, unfortunately.
I'm showing Craig in second, Andrew third, and Matt fourth.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was looking at the pit lane times though, and so I was trying to mention is I saw Craig with a 39.78 overall pit lane time compared to Nick at a 40.58. So I mean, basically 0.8 of a second faster on pit lane for Craig over Nick there. So I mean, that's obviously going to make a really big difference here. The other thing you see is looks like a couple drivers going to try to get some laps back here. Thaddeus McMurray, one of those in that number 37 car, is currently 10 down. This will, currently 10 down with the wave round. Scott Rankin as well, going to try to get one of his laps back as well here. So every little bit can help you a long way. So on the Lucky Dog side of things right now, it's going to be Anders Arhus, the first of those, a lap or more down at 3 down. Gary Corley, unfortunately, sitting at 4 laps down in that number 7. So Anders going to need a little bit of help here to try to get back in the thick of this race.
And it looks like maybe Thaddeus McMurray and Scott Rankin are taking wave rounds. I can't tell.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to opt to go ahead and do a wave round here. So I believe they actually pitted not that long before the yellow. Thaddeus pitted at 51, so he's actually going a little bit of a gamble there. And Scott Rank. Oh, actually, my numbers are all off though because of it's showing what lap they were on, not the overall laps. It's showing Scott last pitted lap number 26, but we know that's not the case. So, yeah. So unfortunately, I don't have the exact numbers because it's based on what their actual lap number is versus the leaders.
Unfortunately, my app does not do that any better than yours.
Yeah, technology sometimes isn't the best of help for us, Steve. But, yeah, they're definitely taking a wave around, trying to get at least one of those laps back. I mean, they might as well take advantage. And you see lights are off. They're going to swing on by. And so this is going to be our first restart here, Steve, as they went over half the race there without a yellow. And now we're going to get our first restart again. IndyCar's restarting single file. And Nick DeGroot has control, so it's going to be up to Craig and Andrew and Matt and everybody behind to try to get a good reaction to keep up tight with him. But then we know how big the draft is with these cars, so it looks like no takers on top and off, Steve. So like I said, nobody really worried about the fuel mileage anymore. I think these guys all know they can pretty much just full rich it to the end here. Like I said, a big break for that 51 car to get back from 1 down to getting back onto the lead lap, because those leaders were very close to catching some of those guys at the tail end of that pack there. And also a little longer stop for Charles Teed there, Steve. I'm wondering, maybe you mentioned his pace being a little off. Wondering maybe there was a little bit of damage, maybe a front wing change on that number 50 car. That might be what that pace difference was. So we'll see if that 50 is able to move himself back forward here.
Yeah, hopefully it was something like that. This is really going to be balls out when these guys get going here.
Yeah, so this is going to be no more patience, no more fuel savings. I say the only strategy I think we're going to see is who blinks first to hit pit road, kind of a typical IndyCar strategy that we like to see. Even in the real races, I say they just started off their season last week on Sunday at St. Petersburg, Florida. So we're back to green though at lap 71:55 to go, as Nick DeGroot leads Craig Forsyth, Andrew Wood, Matt Wagner, and Yari Brupacher.
Yeah, we're gonna see what these guys have now.
Yeah, I say Craig's not wasting no time here. He's going to try to work that middle line, see if he can get that momentum out of turn number 4. Again, these drivers are on a little bit of cold tires here, so they got to make sure they got the grip that they want, because it's probably going to take a few laps to get the temperatures all the way up to where they need it to be. But Craig definitely wants to try to get a lap led in that number 27 here. And that's it. I feel like with fresh tire, big slide there for Nick DeGroot. Oh, big slide for Craig Forsyth. Just about kissed the wall, it looked like, from my point of view there, Steve. But yeah, these guys are, like you said, they are not holding back at all. Andrew Wood, he's going to join the mix here as well. And so we're going to hop on board with that 64 here to watch these guys battle, because I think we're about to have a 3-wide battle here entering turn number 3.
We thought about it, but I think he realized he just wasn't going to have enough momentum on the outside.
Yeah, I think he was almost looked like he was trying to kind of do an over-under where you kind of enter high and then cut down and try to get around him, but I think he just caught that arrow wash of those two in front of him. There's nothing he could do there. As you can see, he's just trying to find anywhere and everywhere to keep that front wing clean and in the clean arrow. See if he's able to make some adjustments here through 3 and 4. But once again, you see just right in the toe of Nick DeGroot, and there's just nothing he can do. Like I said, it's just like hitting a wall of air where that car just has no grip on the front wheels on that thing. And what that's done, though, is, I mean, look right behind him now. Here's Matt Wagner. He's right into the thick of this as well. And it's just going to bring the rest of the field in here. They're just going to start to bundle up here. And it's, like I said, Steve, kind of it's going to have a bit of almost a super speedway race feel here through through the last section of this race here. As you see, again, Craig just trying to find the right move here. But I think the fresh tires are right now are Nick's biggest friend. As you see, Craig thought about trying to cut low, but Nick was going to give none of that to that number 27.
Yeah, the one advantage Nick has right now is, aside from, I mean, he's running the low line all around, so he's kind of forcing people to try and pass him on the outside. But the other advantage he has is the clean air, because these guys behind him are, as you said, getting a lot of aero wash. And from what I've experienced, the more cars in front of you, the worse it is.
Yeah, definitely the more you have in front, the harder it is. So you got a little gaggle right behind here as well. You see Jim Brooks, Charles T. there just able to get around Anders Arhus and Gary Corley. They're trying to work their way on back on up here as well. Say they've spread out a little bit, but they're all still within, again, that magic 1.5 second window. So we continue to get these guys all packed up together here. We're going to be pretty much, looks like about 13 cars in this lead pack here. And really, at this point, there's no really telling it who's going to be the one in that best position. As once again, you see that 64 of Andrew Wood trying to find an opportunity here to do something on Craig and on Nick here. As Craig there, I think that may have been just the lap he was needing there, Steve. Looked like he may have had a nose ahead at the line, get that bonus point. So again, that's every point's going to matter here. And again, Craig was one of those 2 of the 3 in that points position. And you know he's going to want to try to knock Nick off that pedestal. But man, Andrew had enough. He decided, you know what, I'm going to try to get that third lane going. He went middle. He's able to clear Craig. He's working on on Nick, I'm sorry, and Andrew's going to take the lead there. Big move there at the 3 and 4.
Yeah, that was definitely a nice power move through the middle.
So you know those guys behind are going to get ideas. You see the 4 car, in the 4 and the 6, and on the outside, who was that? I think that was Jari Brupacher on the outside there. So they are starting to really get dice here. I mean, look at the pack here. You've got them all, and it's all shaking around. I think Matt Wagner, he's thought better of it. He's rolled out a little bit of this fight. I think he's just going to go ahead and kind of regroup and let these guys fight it out, and he's going to kind of bide his time to make his moves. But yeah, I mean, we've got pretty much the top 12 here are all locked onto each other. Once again, Charles T just about to make it 13 as well. So yeah, so I mean, there's racing everywhere right now.
Did Matt slip up, or does it look like he just kind of let those guys go?
I think he just kind of rolled out of it, because I think they put him 3 wide out of turn number 2, and I think he kind of had better thoughts of that. He's like, yeah, I want to race, but I'm not ready for that quite yet. We got another pit stop here to go, boys. And saying there might be some strategy in that as well here, Steve. Again, if he can save a little bit of fuel now, it's a little less he has to put in for his final stop of the race. So I'd say that could be an opportunity for him to, again, to try to go a little bit off strategy in that number 6.
Yep.
However, all this fighting for third, though, it's let Andrew Wood, Craig Forsyth start to sneak away just a little bit. I mean, even look at Nick DeGroot there. He's fallen back into, I'd say fallen back to 5th. But I mean, he's been one of the front 2 cars most of the evening. And I mean, it might still be a fuel thing here too, Steve, where again, we talked about those guys easily getting into the 30s and such, but maybe, like I said, maybe full map, 1 full rich all the way around, almost full throttle all the way around, might not have been enough quite to make it to the end. So that's going to be, I think, a big question too, is when do we see these guys make their final stop? Is it going to be once they are in their window safely? Or is it, hey, I can turn this thing full wick to 11 and I'm going for it. That's when I hit pit road.
And I kind of wonder if, after Nick lost the lead and saw the way the guys behind him were racing, that, he may have just gone looking for a safe space where he can kind of save fuel and not worry about getting wrecked.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm leaning to, is I think they're having to save a little bit of fuel right now. I think that's what we saw. All these guys that have been kind of a little bit further back, they've been able to save a little bit over the course of this initial run. So, I mean, we talked about that fuel window. I mean, we've seen everybody go at least 30, 33 laps, but I feel like there's been fuel saving in those 33 laps. So, I mean, we're approaching now 9 to go until 30 to go. As I say, actually, it might even be a little bit there. You see a little bit of a connection hiccup there from Nick as well. So that's always a little cause for concern. Unfortunately, it's definitely been something that's been going around a lot of races and a lot of series, I feel like, over this past few days, where there's been definitely some connectivity hiccups right now. But Yeah, it's all to play for here, Steve. And I'd say, to me, I think your pit window is going to be once you can go full rich and just basically not even have to worry about any fuel savings. If you can get that far before you make your final pit stop, I think that's how far I go. I think these guys, of course, too, with that threat of a untimely yellow, I think these guys will probably try to stretch it out a little bit. But you know there's going to be somebody that's going to try to take advantage of those fresh tires and jump in early, as Nick has to make a big move there out of turn number 4 to jump under AJ Hobson, try to get back up to 4th here. Joseph Miles was trying to put a move on Matt Wagner, lost a little bit of momentum. That's brought him right into the clutches of Jim Herrick and Jim Brooks. I see Jim Herrick, he took the low line, kind of again got the dirty wash there from that 60. That's allowed Jim Brooks to run the outside. He's got some big momentum running that top side. He's able to get to the number 40, but can't get around him as of yet. Saying that's the difficult part, is you can get there, but then you have to try to complete that pass. And say Jim's always a tough one to be able to get around. To say he definitely is one of those ones that knows where to position his car. But again, you see that little bit of a drop there off of 4 once again, and that gives Jim Brooks a huge run out of 4.
And Alec Coates he's really working on AJ Hobson right now. He did get under him almost going into 1 and 2 the last lap, and AJ kind of came down more than, or unexpectedly, I guess, from where Alec Coates was sitting, and so he had to back out.
Yeah, and that's the thing, as I say, we've got the benefit of being up here and getting all these great angles, whereas these guys, I mean, they've got a pretty limited view around them. I mean, especially because everybody's got different setups. So, you know, some drivers use VR, so say they move their head around, that's what they see. Other drivers maybe have a single screen, some might be having the 3 screens. And so everybody's at a very different potential viewpoints of what's going on around them. So, yeah, for Alec Coates, I'd say that move by AJ Hobson definitely could have been something where he wasn't expecting it. But I'm watching up here, though, Jari Brupacher, he's starting to try to hold off Nick DeGroot. But Jari, I mean, he's been having a great run as well, jumping up back into that top 3 here. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see Jari in contention here in this closing stages of the race here. Because let's say, Steve, we're already at 32 to go. The question, like I said, is that magic number, that 26, 27 laps like Matt Wagner mentioned before the race, saying that's about what he could go full rich on fuel? Or like I said, do we see drivers maybe try to jump in early? Because there's not a lot of time fall off right now. And these guys still running in the mid to upper 24-second bracket, where pretty much the fastest laps are right 24.4s or so. So I do think that there's definitely something to be said about trying to run this a little further out if you can.
It looks like Alec must have lit a fire under AJ Hobson, because he's pulled away by a lot and just passed Nick DeGroot, and he's really on the move right now.
Yeah, that's one of those things you see maybe you're trying to save some fuel and you start to get pressure. It's like, wait, I was saving fuel here. I'm ready to go. So that might be exactly what happened there. You see Jim Brooks was able to get around Jim Herrick, now working on Joseph Morales, has to go the longer way through 1 and 2. Again, that's the risk versus reward, is what's the right way to make these passes, what's the best opportunity here. So we'll see if he can keep that momentum built up through 3 and 4 possibly. Maybe see if he can complete that pass on the exit and try to hang on to that, I should say grab that 9th position. But once again, though, Joseph Morales is able to get a good exit out of 4. He's going to still hold that inside line here, so Jim's going to have to keep fighting on the outside. But we're within 30 to go here, Steve. We're at 29 laps remaining, going to be coming up to 28 to go. So that's going to be the next thing, is who blinks first at this point.
Well, Joseph Morales is keyed up, so he may be the first one to blink.
Yep, here he comes. He's going to be hitting pit road at 28 to go. Looks like a nice, clean entry for Joseph. That's going to be the job number 1. So again, everybody pretty much had a good pit stop in that first green flag attempt, so hats off to them. So we'll say drivers maybe try to make some adjustments, be like, okay, I can go a little harder, a little easier to get the results we need. But right now, our leaders continue to stay out here. I mean, 27 to go here. So, I mean, at this point, I think, and actually here they come, Nick DeGroot, Alec Coates. They're going to hit pit road here as well. And they come in right together as well. So that's going to be a good fight off of pit road. As you can see, some drivers starting to leave pit road with the field coming on around them here. Oh, we got contact. I saw it happen. I saw it happen and cut away for just a second. But unfortunately, Yari Brewparker got into the back of Thaddeus McMurray, I believe it was. I think Thaddeus had just left pit road, and I think was trying to give Yari the space, but unfortunately, Yari was going kind of just trying to do the same thing. So, unfortunately, this we'll see where they cycle out, but this could be unfortunately a huge heartbreaker for Nick, Alec, and Joseph there. So we'll see. So let me go back though. We'll look at that contact here. But yeah, unfortunately, I believe what happened there was just a little bit of miscommunication here. You see the 49 there was trying to get around the 37. I think the 37 was trying to get to the top, knowing that's where they probably wanted to go. Unfortunately, just I say one of those things that when you're at the grocery store, you got the shopping carts, and you get the kind of the after you, and unfortunately, you kind of meet in the middle. But with shopping carts, you're not doing that at 220 miles an hour.
Didn't we do a shopping cart analogy once?
We sure did, Steve.
You just have supermarkets on your mind.
I do. I actually had to hit the grocery store today, so that's probably why. However, so the one saving grace for Nick and Alec and Joseph here is they're going to get the wave rounds. They'll get back on the lead lap, but these are going to be very, very important pit stops here, Steve. As we're watching right now, the leader coming into this pit was Andrew Wood. He had an early pit stall. You see Craig Forsyth can't quite beat him off of pit road. Now Matt Wagner, can he use that number one pit stall to his advantage? He cannot. So it's going to stay Andrew Wood, Craig Forsyth, and Yari Brewparker. I mean, has to use a faster pair, but now restarts going to stay in that third position on this restart. So I mean, that still could have been a lot worse for that number 49 car. And we're going to be restarting inside 25 to go, Steve. So at this point, I mean, we know at this point everybody's got what they've got to the end here.
That's right. And this was that untimely caution that you talked about for guys that decided to pit early. And unfortunately, it bit them.
Yeah, so one thing to mention, Joseph Morales, actually, he was in the lucky dog position, looks like, as he's been waved around and back onto the lead lap already. Nick DeGroot, Alec Coates, they're going to have to take the wave around here. They'll get themselves back on the lead lap as well. I say, and unfortunately, with that happening, the one driver that really kind of gets shot in the foot a little bit is Anders Arhus. He would have been the lucky dog there. With those guys pitting, he actually stays trapped. Actually, was going to be trapped 3 down. Actually, I'd say he's going to hit pit road here. But was going to be trapped 3 laps down, but instead is going to have to come and hit pit road. So it's definitely a tough break for Anders. Could have got a lap back, but unfortunately was not in position to do so there. So definitely a tough break for him. So what we will see, though, is we're going to see those drivers in front are going to take a wave round. 2 of them get back in the lead lap, and then Scott Rankin going to get 1 more of his laps back, which with 24 to go here, he could still gain a few more spots. Might be able to jump up to 16th. I believe Thaddeus McMurray, that's probably it for him. I think the damage is probably retirement. So that could move Scott. I mean, it's not what you want, but still, I mean, to jump up to 16th, I mean, it's better than being in 18th, 19th, where he was at the first point.
So with no pit stops left, this is where we're really going to find out what people have. Even more so than the last one when I said that. I'm most curious about Matt Wagner because he had fallen off to 2.4 seconds back, and to me it seemed like that was more than just fuel saving and possibly losing the draft. It seemed like he was maybe struggling a little bit, but we'll see what he does here.
I'll say so. Yeah, he's going to restart in 4th. So I mean, it's not a bad position to be in, but again, say the less cars you have in front, the better your aero wash is going to be, of course. So for those that are sitting behind our leader Andrew Wood, obviously best case scenario, you're going to have drivers like Craig Forsyth. You're going to be pretty happy with where you're at. Of course, you want to be in the lead, but you're still not in a bad position at 27. Then Yari Brewparker there in 3rd. So, I mean, Craig's going to have the opportunities here. He can try to make that outside line happen like he was trying with Nick DeGroot. But he's going to have to be careful because we saw at one point Andrew Wood, he made that middle lane happen, got around both those guys. So, I'm sure Yari saw that and kind of put that in his notepad and said, all right, that worked earlier. I wonder if I can make that happen myself here because it's going to be coming down to it. I mean, we're going to have 22 to go at the line.
And Is it Craig Forsyth that's in the three-way battle in the points?
Yep. Craig Forsyth and Nick DeGroot and Scott Rankin are the top three by a pretty significant margin. So right now it's Nick that has I think about a 30-ish point advantage, if I remember correctly, over Craig and over Scott. So yeah, so anything Craig can gain here, I mean, if he could get a win here and get around that number 64 of Andrew Wood, that would do wonders for his opportunities in this one. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's in the back of his mind. Of course, he just wants to win the race too, but I'm sure he's thinking points here as well. As we're about to see the pace car duck off here, Steve. Andrew is going to be our control car, and we're going to have 22 laps remaining here on this restart.
Yeah, I think Craig is going to try very hard to win this thing, but I don't think he's going to want to mess up finishing second if he can possibly avoid it, because he's still going to gain a lot of points on Nick DeGroot.
Yeah, as things stand, yeah, you're definitely thinking big picture, but at the same time, you know Nick DeGroot, and you know it probably won't be too long until he finds his way back into the thick of it. But look at this, though. Andrew Wood gives up the bottom here as Craig Forsyth's going to jump to the front there. Did not see that happening, and so that might be the best thing that Craig Forsyth could have happened. But at the same time, we've seen Andrew, he's had some really good long pace here in that number 64, so we'll have to keep an eye on Andrew and see if he's got something up his sleeves as well as but I think for Craig now, his job is just I gotta protect that yellow line here as safely as I can, but without getting too much, kind of dragging the wheel too much and maybe losing a little bit of momentum. But now you got Andrew Wood there, kind of being in between himself and Jari Brupacher, and like I said, Jari, you already saw there, he's ready to make some moves in that number 49 car. So definitely don't count Jari out. And then, like I said, Matt Wagner not too far back here as well. As I give it a few more laps, and we're going to have the whole field here all bunched back together.
I'm curious whether Andrew and Craig are teammates, because it seems like Andrew did that on purpose.
We got a caution, though, Steve. It's going to back things up again. I think Jim Herrick had an incident. Oh, Charles Teed also involved. And I think the 60, oh, yeah, the 60 and the 3. We've got multiple drivers involved here. Not sure if I think there's 2 incidents here, unfortunately. We're going to start off with Jim Herrick, what happened to Jim, because he was also involved in an incident here. And so we're trying to take a look at that number 40 machine. Actually, I think he's already made contact with the wall, it looks like here, just based on everybody's kind of swinging on by him. So we'll pick up the speed here. We'll take a look. Oh, yeah, something happened there right at the entry. A big hit for him. But then say something else happened a little further up here. You see you got Charles Teed on the inside. You got Joseph Morales there on the outside, and then the 3 machine of Alec Coates right here. And not sure where it happened.
It happened going into the turn.
So we'll pick up the speed
Joseph
here
got a little bit. Joseph got a little bit too aggressive on entry.
Oh yeah, Joseph just gets in the back of Charles T there. You can see he tries to get on the brakes, just wasn't quite quick enough, unfortunately, on it. And then you see Alec Coates just absolutely nowhere that he can go. He gets caught, and you see the 3 up into the wall altogether, unfortunately. So it's a tough hit for all 3 of them at the closing stages of this race there. So we talked about some bad luck for the previous caution, though, for Anders Arhus. This caution, great luck for him, as he's now going to jump back to the lead lap here in that number, or I'm sorry, jump to 1 down if I'm not mistaken, or actually looks like jump to 2 down. So yeah, he was sitting at 3 down. He was going to take the wave round, so hindsight 2020 there, Steve, actually should have stayed out for that wave round, and this one would have put him down to 1 instead of 2. So you never know, though. He would have not had the field to the end had he not done that. So it's always a tough risk to make that call.
And that wreck definitely, I think Nick was behind those guys, so that would have definitely helped him out. He's up to 9th now.
Yeah, I think Nick was, I'm not sure if he was ahead or behind at the time of the caution, but yeah, he's up to 9th. And the bigger thing, too, is he'll now be able to restart with the leaders and doesn't have to worry about having any lap cars in between him and the leaders, as well as the fact that when you get that wave round, you restart at the absolute tail end of the field. So yeah, definitely a break for Nick. Looks like no strategy for him. He's going to stay on out here as the rest of the field is as well. So while we have a moment here, Steve, we'll go ahead and step away for a little bit, and we'll get back to go here on the 1 to go. All right, as you see, Craig, he's going to draft off the pace car here too, Steve. Going to save every drop of fuel, although I'm guessing actually probably more likely wants to burn a little bit of fuel, because I say these guys probably put enough fuel in to make sure they could make it to the end regardless. And that's one of the fun things with Indy cars is these guys always want to run it absolutely as light as possible. So at times you'll actually see and hear these guys actually kind of just rev their engines and try to kind of build up that, to kind of just burn up some extra fuel if they can. But yeah, so I don't think fuel's an issue anymore. Now it's just going to be, I think, an all-outright sprint to the finish. We've got 9 drivers on the lead lap. We've actually got a couple here that are 2 laps down, led by Anders Arhus. Outcoats Joseph Morales as well. But it's going to be that number 27 here that's going to lead the field back to green at 15 to go. Again, he's got control on this restart. You can see now he drops and he goes. And I think he caught Andrew trying to sneak ahead just a little bit there, and he was able to react to that. And he got a great start over that 64 as we head back into one.
And Craig will now do what's called thing on the bottom of the track once anybody gets close to him, because he does not want to let anybody get on his inside.
Yeah, I think he's going to need to live on that inside line. Jari Brupacker, his goal here is going to be to try to find any and every way to get around Andrew Wood as he gets a great run off of turn number 2. But this is where it gets tougher here, Steve. You can get to that guy, but the problem now for him is he's got Andrew Wood getting the draft off of Craig Forsyth, and so that's just going to make it that much more difficult to pass. So Yari's going to have to try to figure out a way to make this pass happen, but it's going to be definitely tough sledding for him. You see Matt Wagner starting to creep back into the picture, but we've got a gaggle right behind him. We talked about Nick DeGroot. He wants to waste no time. He's going to get back into the thick of this thing. You got Jack Walls right there to his inside. You've got AJ Hobson, I believe it was. Jeff Heisong to the outside. I think Jeff's rolling out of there. As you can see, he's got some connection issues, and so he's just trying to be courteous there and help those guys out. So definitely, it's a tough situation to be in for Jeff, but definitely applaud his decision there. It's never easy to roll out of it when you're in contention towards the end of these races. So, but up front though, Craig Forsyth still got a solid about 0.3 of a second lead, but. Yeah, you're kind of right though, Steve. It's like I said, really surprised to see Andrew give up the bottom there, and then it seems like he's almost been playing defender, if you will, over Jari here since that previous restart, and then now this one as well. But look at that, Jari gets a great run there off of turn number 4. He's able to cut to the inside of Andrew Wood, and he's going to grab that second position. So now game on for our race lead and for this win between that 49 and the 27 here.
Yep, if Andrew was playing defense, he blew it coming off that turn.
Yes, and I probably wasn't actually playing defense. I don't think there's any connection with those guys. And you see Matt Wagner, he's able to peek to the inside of Andrew there as well off of 4. And like I said, I feel like Andrew's been really good on the long run, so I'd say the short run may not be kind of his forte. And the other thing I'm thinking too is I think kind of having some one-off races, I think he's probably trying to stay out of the thick of this championship hunt and battle. Probably doesn't want to affect too much the outcome of the race, especially when you get where it starts get down to crunch time like we are here now, as we're going to approach here 9 to go here, Steve. But yeah, so now it's going to be Craig and Jari. Matt Wagner up to 3rd. AJ Hobson's jumped up to 4th. Now it's just like you said, Craig's going to probably try to have to live on that yellow line as best as he can. But again, that we've seen that outside line has some pretty good momentum through 3 and 4.
Look at AJ Hobson with a very aggressive move under Matt Wagner.
Yeah, just about cleared Matt, but he's going to have the shorter distance now through 1 and 2. He's going to grab that spot. Oh, contact between the 6 and the 50, and the 64. That's going to drop Matt Wagner a bunch here. I think that definitely gave him some front wing damage there. I don't think that car is going to handle very well. I think Andrew's going to be okay, but with this, again, stuff that's happening here is that's letting Nick DeGroot gain a couple more free positions there as we are side by side for the lead with Jari and Craig here at 7 to go.
And Matt Wagner's bad luck season continues.
Oh, you see there, Jari tried to peek under Craig there, Steve, but Craig was going to give up none of that space. As I say, I'm watching also, here comes Andrew starting to make another charge at it, so I think he's starting to pick up the pace once again. You can see he tries to cut under the number 4 of AJ Hobson. AJ is going to protect the yellow line. These guys are going after every position here, tooth and nail. You see Nick DeGroot, he's gotten around Jim Brooks there for a top 5. A great recovery for that number 89, but we still got some racing left to go. as these guys are going everywhere here. Look at the 4 car, try to find a way around. He's got to hug the inside line, but he's going to have some aero wash next to him. Has to avoid the 64. These guys are going. That's going to allow the 64 Andrew Wood to grab that 3rd position here.
I think you may have been right that Andrew has a much better long run car. Oh no!
Oh, contact! They stayed together somehow. You saw Nick DeGroot. He reacted. But he looks like we stay under green. But man, that was close. And actually, it looked like Nick just about caught the outside wall in reaction to that as well. Looks like the car's okay there. But just for a split second, say with iRacing, it looked like he had some damage. But man, we are 4 to go, and these guys are going after it here, Steve. And I mean, again, this is the one where that inside line car is guaranteed to win. Yari has been right on his wing and right at the side pod there through the start finish line. So Yari still got a really good chance at this thing here.
And Yari is definitely one of the more aggressive drivers in this league, so he's gonna give it everything to try and get by Craig.
Yeah, saying that thing is, I mean, I'm watching AJ Hobson here in 3rd. He's going to be in a position here. If they get a little bit too silly with each other, he could take advantage of, I think, maybe a little bit of contact there entering turn number 3 between that 27 and the 49. And that's allowed AJ Hobson to put himself right in the middle of this fight here. I think AJ might be in a spot here to grab that 2nd position as we got 2 to go.
Yeah, that was definitely a scary moment for Yari right now. He's trying to put it through the middle and doesn't quite get there.
All right, here if they can get to, we'll have 1 to go. We get that white flag, so Craig Forsyth's just going to try to hold these guys off for 1 more lap. He's going to hope they keep fighting each other to let it settle between them for 2nd. Let him sneak away for 1st, but Yari's going to clear those guys behind. He's going to pick up some big draft here off of turn number 2. He's going to have to make a big move here through 3 and 4 to try to get a win as they come through 3 and 4 for the final time. He's trying one last draft, but it looks like it's not going to happen. Craig Forsyth going to get the win over Yari Brubacher. AJ Hobson going to grab 3rd, and Nick DeGroot's going to recover to finish in 4th. Andrew Wood in 5th. And unfortunately, we didn't quite catch exactly what happened, but we saw the contact with Matt Wagner and Andrew Wood. He falls to 8th position, and Jim Brooks, who's up there as well, he fell to the 9th position. So not the final laps those guys are looking for. However, up front here, Craig Forsyth going to be a very happy camper with the results of that last section of the race. We talked about the win being a huge opportunity for him, as he's going to close that margin on Nick DeGroot here. So as we watch Craig celebrate, we'll pull up our final results for tonight's event. As Craig Forsyth winning by 0.07 of a second over Yari Brubacher, AJ Hobson there in 3rd. And then again, Nick DeGroot, a great recovery after his untimely pit stop with that yellow. Andrew Wood rounds out a top 5. Then you got Jack Walls, Jeff Heisong, Matt Wagner, and Jim Brooks rounding out our lead lap finishers. So even with the lead lap finish, you know that 6 and the 51 won't be too thrilled with those results. And unfortunately, these drivers having some tough issues and situations throughout the course of the event, with Anders Arhus, Alec Coates, Joseph Morales, Gary Corley, Jim Herrick, Charles Teed, Thaddeus McMurray, Scott Rankin, Brandon Briggs in 18th, and then unfortunately a tough season opener for that number 18, as well as the number 19 or the 19th position of Mike Gibson in that number 5 machine. However, Steve, we got to go talk to some happy drivers here, and probably some happy, some frustrated, but we're going to kick things off with our 3rd place finisher, and that is going to be AJ Hobson. All right, so let's go ahead and pull AJ on in here. And all right, AJ, so you started in 6th, finish it in 3rd, but there was definitely some big moments. And initially I thought it was a different driver, but I think it sounds like it may have been you, where the 156 of Scott Rankin gets loose through 3 and 4, I believe it was, and then just comes right into your side pod there. I mean, I guess if you could confirm if that was you or not, but then also, I mean, just what's going through your mind? I mean, you're like, okay, that's my race. I'm going to have damage, suspension damage, but that thing, it holds pace and all looks well, and you stay in the thick of that thing for that last remainder of the race.
Yeah, it was definitely scary because he got loose in front of me, and I thought he was going to come down and hit me, and he actually hit my side pod, and I was lucky enough to not get any damage on that run. But the second stint, I got into the wall and knocked my tires out of alignment, and I thought the race was done until we got that yellow right before everybody made their second pit stop, and I was able to use my fast repair, and I think I had one of the best cars on the bottom line of the track tonight, but unfortunately Craig was kind of hogging it there at the end, so I wasn't able to make a run down there to try to get him.
Yeah, he was definitely not going to let anybody get down there.
Yeah, it was a tricky line to run, but if you had the right settings in the car and kind of backed up the corner in the turn 3 and got low, you could kind of get a really good run out of the corner and pass some people up there, and that's how I was able to race my way back up to the front. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get the win. We were so close, but a third place finish is what I was hoping for, at least the podium.
Yeah, you were definitely one of the drivers to be reckoned with tonight. We noticed that very early on.
Yeah, I was just trying to see how good my car was, and unfortunately, after I knocked my tires out of alignment, I thought it was over, but I had confidence from the first run and was able to run my way up through the field again.
We were wondering what had happened to you because I remember looking at one point you were 14 seconds back.
Yeah, I took it in a little too deep to turn 3 and kind of washed up in some dirty air back there because I wasn't as familiar with how the car would handle towards like the back of the pack, and we kind of caught the wall a little bit. Lucky it didn't, do any more damage and put me out of the race.
Were you intending to run that high a line, or did that just happen because you drove in so hard?
It just kind of happened because I drove in a little too hard. I wasn't really intending for it. If I was able to run the low line at all tonight, that's where I wanted to be because that's where I was most comfortable.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting seeing the various lines, especially through 3 and 4. There was definitely some options of kind of running the top and the middle, or the bottom. It definitely looked like it was, like I said, at some points. I mean, because usually we see these drivers, you just you got to hug the yellow line and you're pretty much untouchable. Like you said though, with here at Kentucky, it was definitely a different animal because you could get that great run out of 2 with the way this track is oriented. But then if you could just stay on the outside of that car, they had to kind of keep it pinched down. You maybe carry a little more momentum on the exit. But like I said, I mean, when you're in the draft, though, it's a whole different animal. And like Steve, and you had mentioned saying Steve was noticing during the race that you had some really good moves to work that inside line, keep the momentum built up, and then be able to slide back up. And saying that gave you at least a fighting chance to go after Craig. But it was one of those things where it was kind of, okay, who's going to go after him? Because you got the position for a little bit, then Yari was able to sneak it back there at the end. It was a really good fight for you guys to go after it there. And yeah, it was definitely a fun race to watch there at the closing end.
Yeah, unfortunately there at the end, I caught Craig a little too early in my opinion, but you can't lift in that situation because then, you're going to lose more positions. So I tried the outside line in turn 1 and it didn't really work. You wanted to be on the inside in turn 1 and be able to get that run down the back straightaway. But unfortunately, I was left out to dry on the high line, and Yari got me back.
Yeah, I'll say these drivers, they're sneaky and they'll take any advantage they can get. But no, just awesome job though tonight, AJ. So it was a lot of fun watching you work your way back up through the field. And yeah, so get yourself that podium here tonight. Like I said, that was kind of your aim to get tonight. So definitely want to give you the floor though for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that result this evening.
Yeah, I'd just like to shout out the boys we hop in the Discord with every race and, kind of work some strategy and kind of, give each other advice on bar settings and stuff like that. It's always fun to run with them. So really that's it. I'd just like to thank running with them each night.
Yeah, it's always fun to be able to hang out with your buddies and help each other, but then also, yeah, it's be able to spend some time enjoy yourself racing. So, yeah, just awesome job though tonight, AJ. Like I said, put yourself in contention. Just breaks didn't quite go your way, but definitely keep doing that, and those breaks will finally turn at some point here in the season soon.
Yep, I appreciate it.
Great job, AJ.
Thank you.
All right, Steve, that sends us over now to our second place finisher, and that is going to be the number 49 of Yari Brewpacker. And man, I'm going to say definitely without a question, I say it was definitely not for a lack of effort on Yari's part. He was doing anything and everything, trying to find a way to get around Craig there at the end. And I mean, Yari, you were right on him so much there, putting so much pressure on him. I mean, is there really anything different that you maybe felt like you could have or should have tried? Because it was still tough to always get around the leader. We saw a few times you can maybe make that middle to outside lane work through 3 and 4 if you could kind of keep that leader pinched down there on that yellow line. But I mean, it was definitely, like I said, not for a lack of effort there. I mean, just take us through what you were trying to do, what different things you were working on to try to have a chance to see if you could sneak around Craig there.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done anything else. I think we even touched with like 2 or 3 laps to go, so we were really on the limit. Or I was trying everything I could to get underneath him because I knew Craig was just gonna hug that line on the inside and not gonna give it up. So I hoped he would maybe slide up a little and I could get underneath it, but that never happened. And I saw at some point we were catching lap traffic, but I don't know what happened to that. Maybe they pitted, and I hope that would have been probably my only chance to really get past him without Craig making an actual mistake. It was so difficult to overtake him, but yeah, I guess I tried as hard as I could. Went a little playing with the weight checker, tried everything. Tried different lines, running high, running low, trying to get a good run out of 4 and maybe stick it really close to him and into turn 1, but it was impossible. I would say I did all I could.
It's too bad that there wasn't just a little bit more outside line for you, because you really did a good job challenging on the outside, and there was a few times where it looked like you might possibly get him.
Yeah, I felt the same way. There were like maybe 2 or 3 times when I think I was basically side by side with him to the line, but that was with newer tires. Felt that as tires got older, my chances started to fade a little bit, generating a big enough run on the outside, really going close to the wall through 3 and 4. So yeah, all in all, a great race though. I never really liked the reconfiguration they did with this track. I love the old Kentucky, so I guess it's the first time I'm actually happy after a race here.
That's good. That's a plus.
Now, say so. We got to go back to one moment though in the race though, because say Steve and I were kind of joking. We know how sensitive these cars are about when you touch the apron and how just kind of unsettled they get. You had a slight moment there where you just caught the apron in turn 1, and somehow you're able to hang on to that car. And then I believe there's a caution not too long afterwards. We're kind of joking that probably a change of 4 tires, fuel, and probably change of pants there. I mean, just how scary was that for you when you caught the apron there? I mean, and was it just kind of reflex reaction to save that car, or I mean, was there anything like, okay, I got to do this? Like as soon as it happens, your brain just kind of clicks and say, okay, do this, or else you're going around.
Yeah, I actually caught the apron because I was changing my weight checker for the pit stop that was coming up. So that was the reason behind it. Yeah, it really caught me out.
Don't do that in the turns.
Yeah, I found out. Yeah, though it wasn't as bad because I didn't really see it coming, and once I got sideways, I had already basically caught it. So I think it didn't even cost me that much time. I still came out of the pits where I was basically before. Yeah, but that was definitely a little bit of a wake-up call.
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely a big moment. But yeah, I mean, just amazing job saving it. But I mean, and you're right though. Then it kind of also kind of helps people realize how much is involved in these cars, because it's not just like you said, they're not just point and shoot, because you got to make little adjustments to help you. Like I said, pit entry, you got to move the weight jacker, and there's so many different things you have to do in clean air, dirty air, or like I said, around pit stop time. So. And to be, yeah, just amazing job to hang on to that car, and then like I said, to be able to still be in contention there with that car you kept in one piece there at the end, to go after Craig at the end. That was a lot of fun to watch. So before we let you go though, definitely want to let you give any thanks and shout outs for your second place here tonight.
I want to thank the fast repair that saved me after that one incident.
Oh, that's right. We didn't mention that, Steve. The kind of we joked, we kind of turned it into a shopping cart story where it looked like it's just one of those unfortunate incidents where Thaddeus was trying to kind of get out of your way, and then you second guess yourself, like, okay, no, he's going that way. Okay, I'll move back, and then and then of course the closing rate of these cars is way too high, and for that to happen to you, but to still save that fast repair. Yeah, actually, take us through that as well. I completely blanked in that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I think he came out of the pits and he let the leaders by, and probably didn't see me coming there. And when he went to the right side, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to his inside. But then he probably saw me and decided to get out of the way. That was just unfortunate misunderstanding. I don't think there's much more that could have been done in that situation. But I was lucky that I didn't really damage my tires much. It was basically just the front part. So I could basically keep I think I actually kept the grip position even after the crash, because I was just able to roll on basically and get the fast repair.
Yeah, I think you came in third position still. So I mean, yeah, like I said, for a bad situation, it definitely worked out about as best as it could there. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because yeah, so other than the fast repair that helped save your race there, yeah, any other things and shouts you'd like to give before we let you go here, Yari?
Yeah, just once again, the other drivers were great here. That was really fantastic racing, and thanks to everybody contributing to the league.
No, great job, Yari. So it was a lot of fun watching you battle it out there. So it was definitely, like I said, not for the lack of effort. It was so much fun watching you do make every move you could to try to get around Craig there. So definitely look forward to seeing more of you and get some more top 3 finishes here in the near future.
Thank you. So am I. See you guys.
Yeah, great job, Yari.
Thank you.
All right, Steve, that leaves us one last person to talk with, and that is going to be our race winner in that number 27 of Craig Forsyth. And so I think first off, Craig, I mean, the opening stint of the race, I mean, just hats off there, gaining so many positions, the opening couple laps to kind of get yourself right with that lead pack, kind of not even have to worry about the starting position you had. But then I feel like the second to last restart, I think it was, when you restarted behind Andrew and then able to jump in front of him there, where it kind of looked like he just honestly gave up the bottom, or maybe just didn't expect to see you make the move there. You cut underneath him. I mean, did that just feel like it was kind of a Christmas in July, or I guess in this case March situation for you?
I didn't expect it to be, that I knew he wasn't going to like fight me to the point of crashing me, but yeah, no, it was. I saw the opening and I had to go for it. Obviously, but I was happy to get it. That's for sure. But yeah,
happy to get it, and then you were like, "I'm not giving this thing up."
No, at that point, it was the bottom is now mine, and I'm not giving it up.
Yeah, so you selfish drivers not giving the preferred lane to everybody else. But we're just talking with Yari. But I mean, I was saying that's the next thing is, I mean, how stressed, how tense was it for you those final laps there? Because I mean, Yari's doing anything and everything to try to get around you. And I say he even mentioned, say, unfortunately, at one point, a little bit of contact that you both obviously were able to kind of get away with and recover from. So it kind of gives me flashbacks to when I was trying to get around you at Vegas with Dark Horse with a DW12. So the same thing. I think I got into your right rear as well with my left front, and yeah, always a dangerous situation when you start trying to squeeze just that little bit extra coming to those closing laps there.
Well, I had in the middle of the race there. I mean, I tried my hardest to get past Yari when he was ahead of me, and I could not get past him. So he was fast. If he'd gotten past me, the win would have been his. I mean, never would have gotten back by him again. He had the defense down perfectly for this track. So I was lucky that I was able to jump people during the pit cycle and then get ahead of Andrew to take the lead, at which point it was like, all right, I need to start owning the bottom, change the weight jacker, and make sure the car stayed down there and didn't give it up under any circumstances.
Yeah, that's basically what we thought you were going to do, and you did a really good job of protecting the bottom.
Yes, and you could probably speak to this a little bit better too, Craig, is with this reconfigured Kentucky. I mean, it's definitely not a point and shoot like the other kind of typical 1.5 mile, 2 milers. Say it's definitely a much slower turn. So I mean, of course you got the clean air, and I mean that's very helpful. But I mean, it wasn't just like a point and shoot situation there. I mean, what all were you having to try to adjust to make sure that you didn't give up that bottom, but also at the same time not giving up that exit momentum out of 4?
Yeah, well, that's basically. I mean, you had to decide how much. I mean, the lower you were going, the basically you had to decide how much momentum you were going to give up to make sure that you could stay on the bottom and not slide up coming out. Because I mean, it was much faster for the guys who were coming down and sliding and sliding up. But as long as you could still own the bottom by the end of the straight, basically, I think I had 1 or 2 laps when I was challenging Nick, where I was actually able on the outside to take cross the line ahead of him. But it didn't matter going into the corner, of course. You'd immediately lose it because owning the bottom was all that really mattered.
Yeah. So 1 and 2, yeah, exactly. You pretty much got to live on that yellow line. But yeah, 3 and 4 definitely opened up some opportunities. But it was definitely a lot of fun to watch you. Like I said, able to jump so far up from 15th to I think it was about the top 5, top 8 or so within just a couple of laps. It felt like. And then, like I said, through the green flag pit stops and everything, cycling yourself right back into the thick of things. It was a really good race for you. I'll say not even just like I said from controlling it at the end, but just getting yourself into that contention position because it definitely wasn't the easiest place to pass. We saw a good chunk of drivers make some moves, but a few other drivers were definitely struggling to get through the traffic. So definitely hats off to doing a little bit of everything here tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, that wasn't an intentional start from the back decision. I screwed up my second lap. I got too low onto the apron starting my second lap, and it sucked me down. And at that point, it was all I could do to not crash into the wall, but it didn't really matter. It lost the momentum. So I was really discouraged that I was going to be starting at the back. So I was surprised I was able to get through as quickly as I did. I think it was just. It turned out that I was good with the tires and good holding the corners. So passed a couple of guys and then was in the right spots when the cautions came out. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a well-earned, well-deserved finish here tonight, Craig. So before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor. I'll say because we were joking before about you needing to have Jim not be in the races to have your good luck streak, but you say Jim was here, saying you were still able to knock one out again here tonight. So definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts I could give for that win here this evening.
No, I got to thank Jim, and it worked out, and I'm glad that Jim was able to stay out or be here for the whole race, and that's I've lost my brain. I'm completely exhausted. LMC Gear, 4D Sim Racing guys. That's Jim's crew. That's sponsors everyone. It was a good race tonight. I didn't get to see most of the accidents, which I guess was lucky for a change. It was unfortunate for Scott there getting disconnected because he had that one moment where he got a little bit loose, but was able to come back and then have the caution come out to put him back, and then got disconnected, so it didn't matter. which I've experienced that earlier in the season. So yeah, it's we're going to keep it close right to the end. That's the goal. Scott, me, and Nick.
Yeah, so you two definitely run away. So I'll say it's going to help you close that gap on Nick, obviously, and then gain a little bit on Scott as well. But yeah, just awesome job though tonight, Craig, and definitely enjoy this one. So we'll let you get your head back, and look forward to seeing you again next week.
Hey, you bet. You guys stay safe.
Yeah, great win.
All right, Steve, that's our race winner in that number 27 of Craig Forsyth. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely an exciting one here tonight. I say Craig doing everything he could to fight off Yari at the end there, but yeah, and same thing. I mean, even Nick DeGroot, I mean, look at the recovery he does to still find a way to get back up into fourth. But I think there's definitely going to be some frustrations from those that were in a good spot that unfortunately got caught up in some incidents towards the end of that race as well. But still really, really exciting one here tonight at Kentucky.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing that surprises me the most looking at the finish standings is only 9 cars on the lead lap, and we didn't really have any big ones or that many cautions. So that's kind of unfortunate, but just a really competitive race up front, and it was a fun one to watch tonight.
Yeah, it definitely was. And definitely want to thank you all for watching, supporting us here on Green White Checker TV. So it's a lot of fun to be able to put these on. So hope you guys all enjoyed it as well. And I'll say, and somehow, Steve, I'll say happy March. I'll say we've finished up February. We're already into March. And saying we're getting into the closing stages of this season as well here with Area 51. So so again, as always, man, thank you so much for being a part of it here, sharing the booth with me. It's a lot of fun to do this with you. And I say looking forward to these final couple of races to see who's able to kind of come out on top here at the end of the season.
Right back at you, Gael. It's always fun running the shopping carts around with you on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, 220 plus mile an hour shopping carts here tonight at Kentucky Speedway. I say Craig Forsyth getting the win here tonight. So again, hope you all enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you back again. We'll be back on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Truck Series on Green White Checker TV. So until then, though, hopefully you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you back on Thursday. Until then, have a good night, stay safe, and take care. Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.